the Eastern powers in the NBA, and that's Philadelphia. They hire their new coach, Nick Nurse. The Sixers firing Doc Rivers after 3 straight second-round playoff exits. So upon the Nurse news, yesterday, Alan Hahn questioned what this hire means for James Harden.
They already know that James Harden's not coming back by making this hire, because if you were asking James Harden, it was Mike D'Antoni that he would want as the head coach. But Daryl Morey does have a relationship with Nick Nurse. He's the best coach available.
Yeah.
And so it's a good fit. But is it the right fit for James Harden?
I like that question. Is it the right fit for James Harden, Jay Will?
I mean, I think James Harden has tried to find his way to get to Philly because he trusts in Daryl Morey. So I think that relationship supersedes whether that's Mike D'Antoni or not. You're telling me Daryl Morey and James Harden had no conversation about the decision of not being Nick Nurse? And I think Nick Nurse tactically is one of the best coaches in the league. Mm-hmm. I've seen the way he's opened up Toronto's offense. So I wouldn't trust Nick Nurse for this relationship with him and Joel Embiid. I would.
So the idea that James Harden didn't like being coached hard by Doc Rivers, you're now going to someone whose reputation I think is that he coaches even harder as you transition from the doctor to the nurse in this case, which is never not going to be funny to me. I apologize. I know it's getting ridiculous that I keep using that, but I just can't stop. Wendy, how about it? What does the league think this hire means for James Harden?
So I think it's absolutely true that Nick Nurse and James Harden don't have a relationship, and that is an indication that it'll be a challenge here. But I would advise you, based on where I'm hearing the NBA, not to make assumptions about what's going to happen with James Harden. There's a lot of factors at play here, a lot of leverage potentially at play here. We know that Houston is out there. We don't know for sure what Houston is prepared to offer. We don't know for sure what Philadelphia is prepared to offer. We don't know for sure what James Harden is 100% valuing. Is it comfort, which he would have in Houston? Is it championships? We don't know where James Harden is willing to go with the salary situation. We were surprised last year when he took a pay cut. So I would just say, let's just have an open mind here, because I think that's the way Nick Nurse and the Sixers are trying to approach this.
What do you think, McNutt?
I don't know why Houston would want James back. So that one is a little bit baffling to me.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka, you got a young core you're trying to build. That doesn't make sense to me. But Wendy's right. What does he want? Because ultimately he's of that ilk of guy in the league that what he wants he's more than likely going to get. I agree with Jay. I like this Nick Nurse hire. I like what James and Joel were able to accomplish this year. Now, obviously, when that run ended, we heard a little bit more about him maybe not loving the way he was asked to play. So
let me ask you a question, Monica, because since we began this conversation, we moved from one set here to another. Did you bring your crystal ball with you?
I got it.
Have you got it right there?
All
right, I asked her to bring her. So will you and I ever be sitting next to each other and talking about
Greedy,
Joel Embiid and James Harden making it to the finals, getting out of the East together in Philadelphia? You say yes?
Step into the camera.
They make it to the finals.
God forbid we ask a player to be coached hard. What are we talking about?
We're talking about James Harden, Jay.
I know it's 2020. If you don't want to be coached hard to win a championship, then don't be here. Then don't be here. I don't understand. The way he's gone about it hasn't worked.
Who's he?
Well, I'm saying the way James Harden, the way his career, right, it has not worked. So if you get to a certain point in your career, hey, I have Joel Embiid, one of the most compatible pieces I've ever had in my career. If this guy's going to coach us hard to help us win a championship, it's a new voice. I'm working with Joel. Why not? That's what you're here for.
But maybe that goes back to what Wendy just said. Who knows exactly what his priorities are at this point? He's at a stage of his life. He's made a ton of money. He might want to go back to a place that he feels at home. Look, I don't know one way or the other. I'm just saying those things feel like probably.
Very true.
And then how about this? Should the Celtics break up the duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
This is the dumbest topic.
Tell me why.
Okay, so he had 8 turnovers in Game 7,
right?
And people think he can't dribble, and he's still worth $286 million.
Is he?
He's a top 15 player in the league.
Okay.
So
that's the going rate for a top 15 player in the league?
When did LeBron James win his first title? I think he was 28. When did Steph win his first title?
27.
He was 26, 27?
7.
So, I mean, Dwayne Wade, 20. So all these guys are 25 and 26 years old. I still much rather build with them. And by the way, if it goes this year and then you don't win, I still think you'll have a high trade market for Jaylen.
So let me be very clear that I'm actually on that side. But if I wanted to make, you don't trade Jaylen Brown because you're never getting. Oh, look, Wendy is with us as well.
Wendy,
you're never going to get back what would be reasonable. And Wendy made that point a little bit earlier here. But if I were to play devil's advocate, I would do it by saying that Jason Tatum is a sensational player and Jaylen Brown is too. But there has never been any evidence to me that they make each other better. Great teams, great duos, great players have a chemistry where they make each other better. And for whatever reason, it's not a criticism of either of them. I don't see evidence that the two of them make each other better on the floor.
What's the point of a coach? A coach is supposed to make you better. Pete McConville, our boss, makes me better, makes you better.
Right.
So let me put you on operational parts of the floor to make your game better. Personnel-wise, let me surround you with not scorers, but shooters. Let me actually force you to get more twos than just taking 77 threes in the last 2 games.
Right.
The coach is supposed to make you better.
Fair enough, but aren't those things? Go ahead, Monica. Go.
I would also submit this idea of making one another better versus team success. Like, they've been very successful together. Like, I'm not sure that the step that this team needs to take is beholden to just the two of them pushing one another.
Thank you.
That's fair enough. What do you think of it, Wendy? What I love about the Win Man is he's got all the information, but he's also willing to throw a thought of his own in there on things like this as well. When you hear people say, you know what, they're never going to make it together, the two of them as a duo, they should split them up. What do you think?
Yeah, Greeny, that could be correct, but now is not the time to come to that conclusion. I think they have a 2-year window. I'm going to keep saying that before Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will make the combined $120 million a year. I said that. They have a 2-year window. If these two guys prove that they are champions, then $120 million for the two of them is a fair price. If they're not, then you can re-examine it. And if you're in a lot better position to trade Jaylen Brown when you've got him under long-term contract than you are now. This is a philosophical decision versus a practical one. And the practical decision for the Celtics is very simple. They are going to re-sign him or try very hard to keep them together, keep working around the pieces and parts around them, including the coaching staff.
And also, guys, let's be honest, in 2 or 3 years, you're going to look at that $49 million contract per year with the new media rights coming up, and you're going to be saying, okay, that looks like a second-tier superstar. It won't be at the top of the line.
Yeah. It's actually $59 million a year. I mean, Jaylen Brown's extension would be $59 million a year. Now, to your point, maybe 3 years from now, that won't sound like so much money. But right now, it sounds like it would be the most expensive per year salary of any player in any sport that I'm aware of. And that's an awful lot for a guy who's the second best player on your team. Again, I'm making the devil's advocate arguments as best I can, because at the end of the day, I'm on your side. Not because I'm convinced they're going to win, but I am convinced there isn't a better idea.
Yeah, listen, the sticker shock is real, but in the grand scheme of things, things will shift. It will seem more digestible in the near future. But I understand the idea that they haven't been able to get over the hump, so something needs to change. But to me, they've already had so much change as far as the coaching staff goes. Give them a true shot at continuity, reinforce that coaching staff, see what it looks like under a second year under Mazzulla. And we're talking as if they like had a bad season. The Heat, 8 seed and all, that is a damn good organization. Jimmy Butler, Spo, top down. So
I get it. But the Celtics don't, there's something missing. It's hard to put my finger on what it is. They should have put away Atlanta when they had a chance to. They played around with Philadelphia and let that series get to a place it had no business. They lost 3 home games against Miami in the conference final. Something's